yeah, I'm 10, 12 years in. I got 4 MVPs and 4 championships. Like, but do I still want to do this? You know what I'm saying?
You know how hard it is.
Some people say, I want to go play baseball.
8 months after subtly taking shots at Michael Jordan on LeBron James' podcast, Kevin Durant has returned to the spotlight, and he isn't backing down. In a recent interview with The Ringer, KD once again addressed Jordan, and this time, he stood firmly by everything he said. Meanwhile, a leaked phone call hints that this may not be random, but part of a broader narrative to elevate LeBron's legacy. The moment that reignited everything came on March 17, 2026, when Durant sat down with Michael Lee. At 37, playing for the Houston Rockets, KD is on the verge of surpassing Jordan's all-time scoring total. Having already overtaken legends like Wilt Chamberlain and Dirk Nowitzki, he's closing in on one of basketball's biggest milestones. When asked about Jordan and the earlier controversy, Durant didn't hesitate. He called MJ the standard, but made it clear he doesn't regret anything he previously said. No apology, just a direct, unfiltered stance. To understand why this still sparks debate, you have to revisit July 2025. Durant appeared on LeBron's Mind the Game podcast with Steve Nash. During a discussion about long-term commitment and mental discipline, KD spoke about how players must constantly recommit themselves to greatness. Then came the line that caused chaos. Durant referenced players stepping away from basketball, clearly alluding to Jordan's 1993 retirement to pursue baseball after his father's death. LeBron responded with ladder and mentioned staying committed for 22 straight seasons.
Some people say, I want to go play baseball.
Right?
Yeah. And then I want to come back.
Drawing a contrast without directly naming MJ, that brief exchange, just seconds long, blew up online. Fans immediately connected the dots. For many, it felt like Jordan's emotional decision was being reduced to a casual example, while LeBron's longevity was being praised in comparison. The context made it even more sensitive. Jordan had stepped away during a deeply personal tragedy, later returning to win 3 more championships. Critics felt KD's framing oversimplified that chapter of his life. The backlash was instant. Social media exploded, with fans accusing Durant and LeBron of subtly reshaping Jordan's legacy. Some even suggested the conversation felt staged, as if it was designed to boost LeBron's standing in the Go8 debate. Durant, however, refused to retreat. He responded online, pointing out that Jordan retired multiple times and insisting it's fair to acknowledge that. At the same time, he praised both MJ's greatness and LeBron's longevity, maintaining that both achievements deserve respect. Reactions from former players were intense. Legends who played during Jordan's era, including Shaquille O'Neal, Charles Barkley, Magic Johnson, Kevin Garnett, and Paul Pierce, criticized the comments. Many believe true greatness doesn't need explanation or promotion. Former Bulls Stacey King was especially vocal, arguing that legends shouldn't have to defend their legacy through podcasts. He also questioned KD and LeBron's arguments about consistency, pointing out their limited number of full 82-game seasons compared to Jordan. In the end, what started as a short podcast moment has evolved into a larger debate about legacy, respect, and how history is interpreted.
Legacy
What
of
is it
Michael
called?
Jordan.
Is it called? Was it Cry Me a River?
Cry Me a River. I think
Cry
that's
Me a
the
River
call, yeah.
podcast? Oh my God. Great players don't have to tell people they're great.
Yeah, yeah.
You
That's true.
let fans do that. You let people debate it on talk radio and podcasts.
And with Durant doubling down, the conversation is far from over. The criticism didn't stop with one take, it kept building. One major point raised against Kevin Durant was that he still hasn't proven he can win a championship as the clear number 1 option without Stephen Curry beside him. His stints in Brooklyn, Phoenix, and now Houston have all ended without a title, which critics used to question his authority in legacy debates. Then Quayne Brown jumped in, and unlike others, he held nothing back. His argument wasn't subtle. He believed both Durant and LeBron James were not just being careless, but knowingly ignoring the truth. According to him, there's no way 2 students of the game could discuss Michael Jordan's baseball retirement without understanding the real reason behind it. His father's tragic death to Brown that made the laughter on the podcast feel intentional rather than accidental. Charles Barkley approached things differently, but his message was just as sharp. He connected the situation to a broader issue in today's NBA: load management, massive salaries, and inconsistent availability. In his view, players earning tens of millions while sitting out games creates frustration among fans. When it came to Durant, Barkley pointed out that joining super teams has always complicated his legacy, and moments like this only add to that narrative. From another angle, Magic Johnson expressed disappointment more than anger. For him, the problem lies in modern NBA culture. Today's stars are too friendly, too connected off the court, and lack the intense rivalries that once defined the game. He compared it to his era, where battles like Lakers vs Celtics were fueled by real dislike, making the competition more compelling. In his eyes, KD and LeBron laughing together about Jordan symbolized how much the league's competitive edge has changed. Kevin Garnett added another layer, questioning the physical conditioning of modern players. He argued that earlier generations trained harder, practiced at full intensity, and built the endurance needed to handle entire seasons. Today, he believes players rely more on controlled workouts and still struggle with injuries. Paul Pierce echoed similar thoughts, highlighting how past players often push through injuries that would sideline current stars.
Michael Jeffrey Jordan won 3 championships in a row. He repeated, and his father got killed, murdered. MJ retired in October and dedicated himself to baseball, which is a sport that his father wanted him to play. So that's why he tried to commit himself and dedicate himself, because he was in a mourning phase. You know, smart ass idiots, because he lost his father. He played baseball, was gone from the game.
For both Garnett and Pierce, the irony stood out. Durant and LeBron talk about longevity, yet frequently miss games themselves. Overall, the message from these legends was unified. They weren't just reacting to a single podcast moment, they were pushing back against what it represents, a generation seen as more comfortable, less battle-tested, and too willing to reshape history to strengthen their own legacy. Despite the backlash, Durant never backed down. Many expected him to eventually clarify or soften his stance, especially with so many former players criticizing him. But that never happened. When he spoke again in 2026 with The Ringer, just days before surpassing Jordan on the scoring list, KD remained firm. At that point, he had already passed Wilt Chamberlain and Dirk Nowitzki and was closing in on one of the greatest milestones in basketball history. Instead of celebrating, Durant shifted the narrative. He made it clear that passing Jordan in total points doesn't tell the full story. He openly stated that Jordan's time away from the game played a major role in the numbers. If MJ had continued playing uninterrupted, Durant believes the scoring gap would be much larger. Importantly, KD didn't frame this as criticism. He still called Jordan the ultimate standard. His goal, as he explained, was to preserve context, to ensure that statistics alone don't rewrite history. In the end, Durant stood by both his original comments and his deeper explanation. No apologies, no backtracking, just a consistent message. To him, acknowledging the full picture isn't disrespectful, it's necessary. Kevin Durant has made one thing clear. He isn't going to apologize just because people online are upset with what he said. From his perspective, he simply stated facts, and public reaction doesn't change that. What often gets overlooked is how consistent KD has actually been when it comes to Michael Jordan. Back in early 2024, during an interview, he questioned why his own name is rarely included alongside Jordan and LeBron James in G8 discussions. His response was straightforward: why not include him? Looking purely at his achievements, the argument isn't unreasonable. His efficiency accolades and scoring ability place him among the elite in NBA history. However, perception plays a huge role. Decisions like joining the Warriors, leaving Brooklyn, and moving through different teams have shaped how fans and analysts view his legacy. Moments like the podcast incident, where MJ's personal history was casually referenced in a light tone, only add fuel to criticism. Despite that, KD has repeatedly shown admiration for Jordan. In late 2025, he even described MJ as the perfect basketball player, both on and off the court. That kind of praise makes it clear he isn't trying to tear Jordan down. Instead, KD approaches the game analytically. For him, Jordan's retirements are part of the historical record, facts to be acknowledged, not insults. The issue is how and where those points were delivered. A serious breakdown in an interview sounds very different from a relaxed conversation filled with laughter. Context shapes perception, and in this case, it changed everything. By the time KD spoke again in 2026 with The Ringer, the backlash had already cooled. This interview didn't reignite controversy. It gave Durant a chance to explain himself clearly. He praised Jordan, emphasized context around the scoring race, and once again refused to apologize. His main argument was simple: numbers alone don't tell the full story. Jordan stepping away from the game during his prime had a direct impact on career totals. If MJ had played those missing seasons, his scoring record would likely be even further out of reach. At the same time, Durant acknowledged LeBron's incredible durability and longevity, noting that playing continuously for over 2 decades is its own historic achievement. KD's stance highlights something many debates ignore: multiple truths can exist at once. Jordan's greatness, LeBron's endurance, and KD's own scoring brilliance can all be respected without diminishing one another. Still, nuance rarely spreads as fast as controversy. A short clip, a laugh, or a single line can shape public opinion far more than a detailed explanation. Once that moment went viral, the narrative took on a life of its own. Now at 37, Durant is chasing one of basketball's biggest milestones while leading a young Houston Rockets squad. As he approaches Jordan's scoring mark, he does so fully aware that circumstances played a role in closing that gap. And unlike many others, he isn't afraid to say that openly. That's what defines KD in this entire situation. He hasn't tried to rewrite history, nor has he claimed superiority over legends. Instead, he's remained consistent, sticking to his perspective, even when it's unpopular. In the end, Durant's position is less about disrespect and more about clarity. He isn't following narratives or trying to please anyone. He's simply speaking his version of the truth, even if it goes against the noise.